Too long didn't watch? The Surge is a new Souls-like that offers visceral combat, challenging gameplay, and a unique progression and upgrade system that is certainly worth a look to any fan of action RPGs. The Surge is an action RPG developed by Deck 13 Interactive, creators of Lords of the Fallen, that takes place in a world decimated by climate change and war. Your employer, Creo, promises to return the world to its former glory by launching questionable and highly experimental rockets in order to repair the atmosphere with Project Resolve. However, and unsurprisingly, something has gone horribly, terribly wrong at the facility, and immediately after having your very own exosuit attached to your skeletal frame, through your clothes I might add, you are dragged out by a drone and discarded like yesterday's technology. Your goal is to survive, improve, and find out what happened at Creo. At its core, the Surge will be very familiar territory for anyone who has played some of the more popular action RPGs of recent years, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and of course Lords of the Fallen. Difficult combat, stamina management, resource collecting, upgrading equipment, and repeating sections due to dying over and over all make a return. Where the Surge shows its innovation is in the area of character progression and item improvement. Your XP or currency comes in the form of tech scrap, which you receive from killing enemies or collecting consumables scattered around the environment. This scrap can be used to improve your exosuit level, but unlike in many other games, there are no stats such as strength or dexterity to focus on. Instead, improving your exo increases your core power, which functions much like a highly modified carry weight, and it also unlocks implant slots, which is where most of the build variety is going to take place. These implants will drastically change the way that you play. If you want more than the base 100 HP, you will need to use HP implants. Need more stamina? There are implants for that. There are implants that convert energy to health, locate items, show enemies health, and yes, if you don't have this installed, you will not know how much HP the enemies have. Some of the implants are hot swappable and can be changed in the field, but most of them can only be changed at a med station, which will function as your safe zone in each area. Most implants require core power, as do all of your armor pieces. Your core power is increased with each time that you upgrade your actual exosuit. This means that even if you have unlocked your implant slots, you may not be able to take full advantage of the slot if you don't have the core power to spare. I found myself leaving implant slots open just so I could use stronger implants that required more power. I really like this idea of core power because not only does it make sense thematically, you are wearing an exosuit after all, but it also means that you need to pick and choose your gear carefully and sometimes sacrifice one or more implant slots just to utilize better armor or implants that you find along the way. There are 5 classes of weapons: one-handed, staff, heavy-duty, which is like a two-handed weapon, single-rigged, and twin-rigged, which will function like you're dual-wielding. Each of these classes has its own proficiency system, which improves that class's damage the more you use it. I have always been a fan of improving skills through usage of said skills, so this was a welcome addition. This proficiency system, as well as a lack of any typical stats, means that changing a build is as simple as changing your weapon, armor, and implants. Yes, technically your proficiency in the new weapon class will be lower, but the difference in damage output is not enough to cripple you even in the endgame. Armor set bonuses also make a welcome comeback. Well, at least welcome to me. I understand that some people will prefer to mix and match exosuit pieces for fashion's sake. Are we calling this fashion surge, I guess? But the bonuses the armors can provide may convince you otherwise. Weapons and armor are improved with various materials such as cortical processes for head armor or tungsten alloy for weapons. Regardless of the armor set or weapon type that you wish to upgrade, the type of resource and the amount needed remains the same. In other words, whether or not you want to upgrade the Rhino or the Lynx chest piece to a Mark II, you will need 13 pieces of Rig Armature Mark II. This makes upgrading a handily streamlined process, and remembering what resources you need to farm becomes very simple. Speaking of acquiring resources, or armor schematics or new weapons, the easiest way to do so, outside of occasionally finding them as drops throughout the world, is to simply cut them off your enemies. In my opinion, this is where the Surge shines. Nearly every enemy has more than one targetable location, and some players at first may find the system cumbersome. I find it to be one of the most enjoyable aspects of the game. If you need upgrade materials for your helmet, or if you see an enemy with a new helmet and you really want to get the schematic, you target the head, you do enough damage, and once the prompt appears on the screen, you hold that button for a visceral dismemberment attack, which will, more often than not, result in the requisite resources or schematic. And then you just rinse and repeat as needed. If you don't need any resources and you just want to make quick work of your target, find the body part that isn't armored for much higher damage. Also, backstabs and parry riposte, and I do use these terms somewhat loosely, they are present in this game, but pulling them off requires very precise timing, although the bonus damage that you get can certainly be worth it. There are no shields in this game, but every weapon is capable of blocking. Time the block carefully to stun your opponent, or use the right analog stick up or down while blocking in order to jump over or duck under the enemy's attack. Supposedly, this will open them up for a counterattack, but I would be lying to you if I said I was able to ever successfully dodge an attack this way. Speaking of dodging, it is fast and very heavy on the stamina usage, which is really great for quickly closing in gaps or getting out of town, but it makes stamina management a very tricky concept and one you're going to have to watch carefully, because if you're out of stamina and you can't attack, you are as good as dead. Also, you get a drone. And throughout the game you can find different modules to change the behavior of your drone, but you get a drone. I love my drone. Combat is most enjoyable in 1 versus 1 situations. It can quickly get out of hand even when just one other enemy joins the fight. The game has a very impressive option set where you can choose how many visceral animations play, whether or not enemy limbs get annotations, but you can also control how you switch between limb targets and separate enemy targets. Simply using the right analog stick while locked onto an enemy will select the various limbs. Holding the left trigger while using the right analog stick will switch between enemies. Tapping the left trigger will automatically target a different nearby enemy. Now I chose the option that kept the reticle on the selected enemy's limb unless I hit left trigger to switch enemies or use the right stick to switch limbs, but experiment with what feels comfortable to you because there are a number of options available. For anyone who has played Lords of the Fallen may know that Deck 13 likes to create bosses that make you think, and the Surge is no exception. Simply spamming the R1 will get you killed quickly. And with only 2.5 minutes to return to where you died in order to get your scrap, you may not want to die too often. A quick note on this mechanic, however, because a lot of people are going to not like this idea. Each enemy you killed along the way nets you an additional 20 seconds in order to get your scrap. Also, the timer pauses if you're in a med station or if you're in an elevator, and I really appreciated that touch. Many enemies are going to be able to kill you in only 3 to 4 hits, and bosses will do so even quicker. Each boss is a bit of a puzzle, and you will need to find their weakness and exploit it in order to take them down quickly. To be honest, the boss fights have been my least enjoyable aspect of the Surge. It's not that they're too difficult or tiresome, they just feel like slightly upgraded and larger versions of enemies that I had already fought on the way to them, with a couple of exceptions. Fortunately, they aren't made difficult by making them damage sponges, and they can be killed quickly enough if you have the right strategy. I don't expect the Surge to win any awards for aesthetics. There are some really good looking set pieces, but you spend so much time in a metallic facility that the hallways and the catwalks really do begin to blend together. Performance does seem to be really good on PC so far, minus the issue with particle effects, which I'm sure they're going to fix very soon. But there does need to be something said about the actual level design. Exploring in RPGs is a must. Looking for loot in every nook and corner is exciting. But nothing can ruin the sense of exploration more than knowing you have to simply run back through everything you've just traversed through in order to get back where you started. In the Surge, shortcuts and cutbacks are found frequently. I found myself thinking, oh, I'm here? Many times after opening a door or taking an elevator. One time I accidentally fell off a catwalk and I survived the fall, barely, only to realize I was in an area I had been exploring 2 hours prior. Exploring in the Surge is fun because if you're thorough, you'll almost never need to backtrack. Well, that's not entirely true. You will encounter doors that require very high exosuit levels to open early in the game, and some NPC quests, yes, there are NPCs and there are quests, will necessitate backtracking in order to locate and return their items.
But I have to thank you.
The story actually had me intrigued. It's possible because I have a background in environmental science that the plot was interesting to me, and I was excited to hear about the science behind Creo's Project Resolve. There are plenty of NPC dialogues, emails, audio logs, and item descriptions to delve even deeper into the game's world, but nearly everything you'll need or want to know will take place on TV screens placed throughout the game or by Sally, an individual who communicates to you through terminals found in the med station. The story and writing aren't especially noteworthy, but I did find myself paying attention and it kept me guessing.
The rig seems to work for me.
Overall, I've had a great time playing the Surge, and I enjoy it more with every hour I put into it. I'm not sure this game will have the replayability that some other I'm not sure this game will have the replayability that some other action RPGs have, simply due to builds only having minor differences outside of weapon class, but I can say that a playthrough or two of The Surge, which will take most players at least 30 hours to complete, is definitely going to be a good time. The game is not without its flaws. AI pathing can be wonky, camera in tight corridors is an issue, questionable hitboxes getting you killed quickly, but I think that The Surge honestly does find a welcome place at the action RPG, okay, fine, Soulslike table. If you play The Surge or when you do play it in the future, please comment below your thoughts on the game. And for more Surge gameplay and guides, make sure you subscribe to the channel and follow BlueLizardJello on Twitch for any live streams that are upcoming. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.